welcome or not welcome, Michael Yo.
I interview celebrities all the time.
Are you ready to climb? My pal Blake Shelton. Welcome back to the Iced Coffee Hour. My name is Michael Yo, and this podcast has made $3 million.
No, not quite.
It's close.
No?
$225,446.
See?
Not a bad guess.
But, it's okay, though.
Yeah.
I want to, aim higher.
Yeah,
And I
that's
want to
good.
make great things happen. So maybe by the end of the podcast, it would make $3 million.
$3 million?
Yeah, maybe.
Well,
No?
we need something to
ambitious
sell.
goal.
We
Yeah,
need something to sell.
yeah.
But you know what? We started a Patreon. Believe it or not.
See?
Yeah.
See? And I'm half black and Asian, so I'm very in right now.
Yeah.
Ambiguous is the way to go. I can be in anything. You
All
know?
right, cool.
And I'm non-threatening.
There we go. Okay,
see?
well, you know what? If you want to see more info, our Patreon is down below in the description.
When you walked in, I gotta say, you had the nicest, look.
Really?
Yeah. Your characteristics, your facial structure and everything, you're just so
Are
smiling.
you attracted to me? Are you hitting on me right now?
Should
I'm
leave?
not explicitly
You
hitting
want me
on
to-
it, but it's the kind of like.
I mean,
to go?
I can talk to my wife, but I mean, she's
Oh,
too,
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I
she's
just didn't see a ring.
You know what? That's interesting. You brought that up. So I passed out on an airplane. This is a crazy story. So I got food poisoning. I was flying from Austin, Texas to here, and I got food poisoning. And I was on the window seat, and I got up, and I passed it to people. And all I remember is taking 2 steps, and I woke up, and a guy had my legs over my head. And he was looking through my legs and he goes, "Are you okay?" And I was so confused. I go, "Am I? I have no idea." So I passed out in the middle of the aisle of a plane and I landed between 2 nurses. My head fell in between 2 nurses on the aisle. And it was the craziest. I was out for 45 seconds on a plane in the middle of the aisle.
What happened?
Food, I guess I was dehydrated, food poisoning. I wasn't taking in liquids.
Yeah.
And I just finished performing 5 shows. So I was exhausted, I guess. And I always take the first flight out. And you know what? I don't sound morbid, but I always think about how death would feel like. And that's what it's like. Because I'm just out.
2 nurses standing over you.
Yeah, 2 nurses, but you're just out. You don't know you're out until you come back. And it was the weirdest thing that I've never been knocked out or passed out, but it was something, man. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Holy.
And so, but what does that have to do with the ring?
Oh, so when I fell, the ring, I was just trying to shift gears. No, when I fell, the ring came off and went under. And I didn't know.
Did you get it?
No, because I never knew I didn't have it on because I was so out of it till I landed and I was gone.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get. And also another reason the ring. I have a what's it called? My finger locks up because of my ring jammed into my nerve. Because I sleep on my hand.
Sure.
And so I have trigger finger because of the ring. So I have to get a plastic one now. So we're looking for that. So my wife, I had a gold one, but now I have to get a plastic
Yeah.
one.
Now, what do you think about Jack wearing a ring? Is you wearing a ring
No,
today,
I'm not
Jack?
wearing a ring
Wow.
today.
Jack usually wears a
usually
ring
wear a
on
ring.
his
Yeah.
ring finger.
On my right hand.
On the right hand.
Yeah.
And I said that's bad. If he's dating,
Yeah.
he shouldn't be wearing a ring, especially there.
You shouldn't be wearing any
I'm not.
rings.
I'm searching. You know what I mean?
Are you
And-
so you're a player?
No, I'm not.
No, you're a player?
Certainly not. No.
Okay.
Far from it. I am searching at the moment, looking for my lucky lady.
Okay.
And I wear a ring of my favorite musician. So
And who's
'cause
that?
Rex Orange County is his
Okay.
name. Yeah. So
Okay.
I just wear a ring that it was like part of his merch.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
So you just because you like him, you wear a ring?
I like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And okay.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's
you know what I
weird.
mean?
It's weird.
I think that's pretty normal. You wear a ring too, right?
Yeah, but I'm married. I'm married, and
But
I
at
wear
the end
a
of the
ring.
day, we're both
Jack,
wearing rings.
what if someone wore a ring that said Jack Selby on it?
That's pretty
How
weird,
would you
right?
feel about that?
Honored. I would feel
You'd
honored.
be honored?
Yeah, honestly.
Really?
I would
Oh, it
probably
says his name on it too.
no. It's just a logo.
It's just a logo. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Good for you.
Yeah,
Guys,
at the end
maybe
of
I
the-
should cut in here
Yeah,
and
we should-
say
yeah.
who Michael Yo is
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
how the heck we met him. So, Greg, take it away.
Me?
Okay,
you
fine.
take it
I'll,
away.
I'll
Alex.
take it away.
You're doing
So
good.
Michael Yo is a comedian. The first time I ever saw him was on YouTube from AGT, and my first reaction was me and my girlfriend at the time, which is now my wife. We were sitting there, we were looking through all the auditions, and it was during the pandemic time, and we saw this comedian go on, and we looked at each other and we were like, dang, comedians have it tough this year because there are no crowds. So imagine going up to a stage performing and not having a bunch of people laugh. So that can sound pretty intimidating. But aside from that, Michael, I believe, also does shows here in Vegas, around the country. I believe, did you have a show on Sirius?
Yeah, I have a show on Sirius XM. It's a radio show. It's on Pop 2K, so we play like Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys, and
cool.
and all
Nice,
that fun stuff. And then have a new TV show on Apple coming out called Amber Brown, where I play an ex-husband. So that's July 29th.
Who's that?
Huh?
Who's that?
Amber Brown?
Yes.
It's a fictional character, and I play her dad. She's the daughter.
Oh.
So, and my wife is Sarah Drew, who is on Grey's Anatomy, or was, and she was, I forgot her name on Grey's Anatomy, but she was a big deal on Grey's Anatomy. But she plays my wife, and yeah, so it's a struggle of me getting back into their life, and she's already engaged. So, and it's a family show, and it's on Apple, so that's huge. So that's going to be fun. Yeah.
Have you always been funny?
No,
Like,
I'm
did you
not
grow
really-
up and
No,
like you're
I'm
not funny?
I'm not funny. Like my friends.
You're a comedian.
I know, but I'm not funny in real life. I'm funny on stage because my friends, the first time I went on stage, they were like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Because I toured and I went to Houston. It was the first time all my friends saw me in Houston. They go, "Dude, you're not funny though. What's gonna happen?" I go, "No, I'm funny on stage. I'm just not funny. I'm a serious guy. Not serious, but." I'm kind of just like mellow. I'm chill in real life. But when on stage, I don't know. I just love to tell stories and things like that. So, on stage, I'm great. But
So you're just really clever. Like you're able to tell good stories in a funny way and like come up with good jokes and stuff.
Absolutely.
When it's calculated, but like off the hook, that maybe
oh, I'm terrible. Like, what is off the cuff?
Yeah.
off the cuff. Yeah.
Like I do. They invite me to do all these shows where you got to think of stuff real quick, and I'm terrible at that.
Really?
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that like that. I'm more of I don't write anything, but I'm more of here's a whole story about something that happened. Like I have a whole story about me almost dying from COVID. Like I got that big story in my special that's out right now. And it's a 12-minute story, but it's funny because I thought it through and I know the beats and all that stuff.
How does that work when you're writing out a script for this? How do you insert the jokes in a way that you wouldn't be able to do like on the cuff?
I don't write a script. I tell a real story and then heighten it. Joe Coy, he's a big comedian right now. He was my mentor, and he goes, if you ever sit down to write a joke, stop, sit down, write a real story, and heighten it. So I just tell real stories. So that's why I never write down stuff because I know the story's true and I know all the beats to it. Then I just got to find the funny parts in the story and just heighten those.
How do you find the funny parts though? Like, let's say you're telling a serious story about you almost dying from COVID.
Yeah.
At what point are you like, hey, I've got to slip a joke right there?
Okay, well, I like to get a laugh every 20 or 30 seconds. So, for instance, this really happened, and it's not even joke form, but it's just funny when I told it on stage. When the paramedic put on, they gave me oxygen, and they told me to say goodbye to my family, so my wife is holding my son at the door, and there's a window separating. I got COVID, I can't touch him. So I put my hand on the window by my son, and I'm gasping for air, like, and my son puts his hand on top of my hand, looks at me and goes, "Copy, see?" And that really...
I was not expecting a joke there.
No, but
yeah, that was blindsided.
see, nobody does, but that's what really happens.
Yeah.
So the truth sort of is funny, and then of course I heighten it where I'm like, this little dude making fun of me, man, screw you, man. But the comedian in me is like, his timing's incredible. So it's kind of like I find those moments. I talk about how the doctor tested every drug on me, and I have jokes about that. How they told me I was the first patient in LA with COVID. I had jokes about that. So I just take a real life situation. If something happens, or if I make somebody laugh, I go, okay, what made them laugh? And I go back and then kind of write around that.
When did you realize you had a talent for that?
I guess when I was on Chelsea Lately. Her show was really big. I was a reporter on the show because I worked for E, so I would interview celebrities. And then once I got to know all the comedians, Joe Coy was like, "You're really funny. You remind me of myself. You should try stand-up." And I tried it at Miami Improv. And the first time I went on, I did 15 minutes. And that's a long time for your first time ever going on. And I fell in love with it. I got off stage, called my mom and said, this is what I was born to do. And my mom was like, really? Because you're not funny, basically. That's how they've never seen me as that. But on stage is just something different. It's fun.
Now, how do you improvise on stage if you're not funny in person? How do you shift to character if, like, let's say something happens and you have to stop
Like some
and
crowd work or something.
Okay,
Yeah.
so crowd work, I'm terrible at. Like, I know what I want to accomplish. I know how to make people a part of my show, but I know exactly where it's going.
Yeah.
Where there are some comedians that can just, my friends, like I think you saw one of them at Mad Apple, Harrison Greenbaum.
Yes.
He can just riff with the crowd. Like that's what he
I
specializes
loved it.
in.
Yeah.
You know, and like I've known him for 10 years and he's so amazing at that. And he's a great storyteller and he's a great comic, but he's more of a ba-dum boom, ba-dum boom. He's hitting you with jokes fast.
Yeah.
I'm more of like, so this happened to me today. And I'll take you through a story and you'll get emotionally attached to it and then I'll give you a joke. So he's a different style of comedian, you know, but he's a crowd work comedian. And I love those. Joe Coy was a crowd work comedian. Ian Bagg is a crowd work comedian. Me, I know exactly where I'm gonna get you. I'll go to you and say, oh, and ask you questions, but I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It sounds pretty crazy when you say like, oh, you were interviewing celebrities at E and
Yep.
then you won an America's Got Talent
Yep.
and performed in front of like no crowd or whatever Alex said. And then, you know, now you're a touring comedian. Can you walk us through like where you started and how you got to where you are now?
So I started on radio. I was a radio DJ. I had a huge show on radio in Miami. I was on Y100 and the show did so well. And I never did TV before. So the president, from what I understand, the president of E at the time was in town. His name was Ted Harbor. And he heard my radio show because his daughter was thinking of going to the University of Miami. And he heard me I interviewed Nick Lachey when he just broke up with Jessica Simpson. That's how long it was. And he goes, nobody could get that interview. And this kid got it. How did he do that? And it was a great interview. So he goes back. His casting people come out to meet with me. They offer me a job on TV. Never been on TV. Never wanted to be on TV. And I said no for like 6 months because I love radio. I was like, why would I want to be on TV? Because I got to move. And your first TV contract they ever give you, they can let you go every 3 months, but you can't leave. And I built up this huge show in Miami. I was like, I'm not going to leave where y'all can fire me in 3 months. So finally 6 months went by where I said no. And they called me and go, okay, what can we do to get you here? I go, let me keep my radio show, build me a radio studio. I'm like, they're never going to do that. So they built me a radio studio. Wow. And I was right across from Ryan Seacrest. So Ryan Seacrest was across the hall. This is when American Idol was huge. And I was like, and when you see somebody from afar, you're like, I could never be that. And then when I moved here, and I knew him, he would pass me every day, go, what's up, man? It makes it a reality. Like, oh, I can do what that guy does. You know, it may take longer to get to where he is, but I can do that. And that's how it kind of all took off. And then they put me on TV and it just kind of took off from there. I was on the Kardashians. I did Chelsea Lately. And I was at E when it was huge. And then I worked for Extra, Insider, ET, Access Hollywood. So I worked for all those shows. And my specialty was interviewing people, like celebrities.
Yeah. Who were some notable people that you had interviewed?
Well, I mean, Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks is phenomenal. Tom Cruise is awesome. Will Smith, before all the trouble. And I don't care what people say about him, the nicest guy you will ever meet. I know he had a breakdown on stage or I don't know what he was going through. Always treated me with respect, was so nice to everyone. And he messed up.
Yeah, you keep his name out of our podcast. I'm kidding.
You gotta do some crowd work.
There you go. That was quick.
I'm trying.
He's always been great. But then, I mean, The Rock, Kevin Hart, Will Ferrell. I mean, just about, there's not one person that you could think of that's, you know, has a big career that I haven't interviewed.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Amazing. So I interviewed him. It was, what was the movie? God, what was it called? Started with a D. I can't remember the
Django.
Movies. No, actually, well, I've interviewed him for that one, but it was this. No, it was the one that was. It didn't start with a D.
Inception.
No, it was the fancy one. Baz Luhrmann did it, I think.
Oh, Great Gatsby.
Yes. So we were at the Great Gatsby, interviewing him, and man, let me tell you, the dude. It's so interesting interviewing people like him because you sit down and you go, I'm interviewing a legend. I mean, he's not one, but when it's all said and done, he's a legend. And that's where I get kind of like stoked about it because you're interviewing a person that when history is done in acting, he's going to be a legend. And he's great. He's nice. You know, I mean, he's not like going to make you laugh or anything. He's a serious actor where like a Ben Stiller, Chris Rock, or Kevin Hart, they'll make you laugh during the interview. He's all about the work. You know what I mean? I mean, you'll have cute moments with him, but it's not like you're breaking anything with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Do you come up with your own questions to ask, or are there pre-set questions that they know ahead of time.
Well, this is why I got out of it, because there are some things they want you to ask, and it's your job to ask, but you could ruin relationships. You could piss off actors, because you got to ask about their personal lives. Because really, honestly, nobody gives a shit about the movie. Nobody cares about your movie. You know, really, honestly, nobody. Maybe Top Gun. They care about it, but they don't care about the shots, and they don't care about, so how long were you in the plane shooting? They don't care. Tom Cruise, who are you dating now? What's up with you and your kid? Like, that's what they care about.
Yeah.
And if publicists don't say, because when you get there, publicists give you guidelines. They go, you can't ask about X. But if a publicist doesn't say that, you have to ask, because your boss will call and go, well, they didn't give you regulations, so you could have asked, why didn't you? And I just got tired of, I don't care about your personal life. I don't even care about your movie. You know, I just do this because I love interviewing people. And then it got to a point where it was just, I would think of the fun questions, and then they would have the gossipy questions, the ones that's on the front page of magazines. And that sucks, to be that guy that breaks the story about somebody's past relationship, or if somebody died in their life or something like that, you know?
So what was like a question that you asked where it really didn't go over well
Oh my
with someone?
God. So Anna, what was her name?
Anna Faris?
No.
Anne Hathaway.
Yes.
How do you do that, Jack?
Django or The Great Gatsby.
Look. But so she was in Rio. It was a cartoon called Rio 2, right? This is when Kanye West and Kim Kardashian were on like Vanity Fair or one of these big magazines. It's the lady that wears the glasses, that Devil Wears Prada.
Meryl Streep?
No, yeah, but she was playing this lady. Okay. I don't know. As for
Who's that lady, Jack? Come on, name it.
Jack?
With double glasses.
What? She has the big. She's like huge. She does the Met, and it was the first time they ever put like a reality star in the industry. It was like, oh, this the magazine's going downhill. But Anne Hathaway was on the magazine, so my boss was like, you got to get her to talk about Kanye West and Kim Kardashian on the magazine. And in my mind, I'm going, that's the dumbest. Who cares her thought? Because she was on the magazine doesn't mean she cares about that. And
It didn't have anything to do with it. Really.
Nothing.
Yeah.
That's like me asking y'all about a person that podcasts when y'all podcast. It's
Yeah.
like, well, what do you think? Like, you're like, I don't even know them.
Yeah.
Why would I care? I asked her that question. She was really nice. So you had to kind of walk up to this platform where she was. And I'm walking down the platform. And can I curse on this?
Yeah.
Okay. She goes, why the fuck would he ask me that question when I don't give a shit about the Kardashians? I don't give a shit about who the fuck cares who's on a magazine, blah, 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 blah. And I got really angry. And I was about to go back up. And then I go, no, she's right. Because that's what I said to my boss before he made me ask that
Why
question.
didn't you defend yourself?
Because she was right. Like,
So why don't you say like,
Yeah, but it's your own
I
character.
agree, like,
Well, because I was
know.
already down she was on a platform, so I
Yeah.
was walking down. She thought I was already down, but I was midway.
Did she think you could hear her?
She had no idea I could hear her. So she was just like blasting me. And then the problem is her publicist calls our boss, and we never ran it. So I asked this stupid question for nothing, and I got tired of doing that. You know,
I thought they were going to twist to be like, Anne Hathaway doesn't care about Kim Kardashian and Kanye West.
I mean, they could have.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. And they would twist it. Yeah.
But they're not going to give you the footage. Because when you do a junket, they keep all the footage. And if they say it's okay, they give you the footage. They wouldn't give me that. They didn't give it to our team. So we couldn't run it. And that's like, so you ruin a relationship, a future relationship, to interview somebody. Because just like I would imagine, you know, finance or whatever you do, it's all about contacts. And if nobody wants you to, my contacts were celebrities. And if nobody wanted me to interview them, I lose my job. And so you could scratch Anne Hathaway off the list, you know? And after a couple of those.
So you were worried about like damaging yourself to the point where you've ruined connections with people?
Ruin connections with publicists.
Yeah.
Because now you're that guy.
Yeah.
You become that guy. Oh, when
Yeah.
he's not going to do a fun interview. He's going to do a fun, but then he's going to ask crappy questions and make the celebrity mad. Do we want to really put him in a room with Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie when he's going to be that guy? I became, like, for a little bit, I was that guy. But I worked for the biggest entertainment outlet, so they had to take me anyway. And the publicist, like, you could just feel it. I was and that sticks with you no matter where you go. Even when you're not working, I lived in LA. I would go to places where celebrities were. And you could see them kind of like, oh, is he going to rat on what we're
Really?
doing?
They'd notice you and just like recoil and.
Yeah, you
really?
saw Jack. I have a look to me when I walk in the room. I mean, no, but they would call, because they knew that, oh, if I do something, this guy could report it on TV. And I hated that feeling. I had that moment with Rihanna where she was like freaking out. I was in this room. We were in this VIP thing. It was only about 20 people. It was backstage at a concert. And, you know, I could tell, you could just feel it. She was like, I walked in, I could see her just kind of roll her eyes. And literally I went up to her and go, yo, I'm not here for that, you know? And I just got sick of being that guy. And also it wasn't my dream to interview these people. My dream is to have my own podcast, interview people where I own everything. And I wanted things to, you know, I was living everybody else's dream. It's interesting to interview everybody and they're living out your dream. And this is not your dream at all. Mm-hmm. And then that's why I said, okay, I started comedy. Let me go on AGT. There was no audience. They called me the night before. They're like, do you want to wait till next year? And I go, no, I'll just do it. And then I did the first episode and then I got COVID, almost died. Mm-hmm. And then that was like, so I was sick the whole time. It took me 10 months to get well. So I was sick during the second round and then I didn't move forward and it was this weird situation. But it's more about now moving forward for me, betting on yourself. Mm-hmm. And I never really did that before. Yeah. Because my job was not to bet on myself. It was being told what to ask, going to somebody, hearing about their life dreams, and then going back and go, oh, I got your question. Like that was the big deal. If I got a great answer to a question they wanted, you know? And it's like, do
you ever keep in contact with those celebrities after you interview them? Like maybe you hit it off and you're just like, hey, let's hang out sometime.
You know what? I've never been that guy.
Really?
I mean, my phone is loaded with celebrity names, but I've just never been that guy because I always want to be the guy when I do go to a celebrity. They're not ever going to say, oh, I was partying with that guy and I don't want him to work. I don't want to work with that guy. I always want to keep a certain image with people that when I do call, they're like, okay, let me listen. Because he's never asked me for anything. This must be serious. Like for instance, The Rock. I love The Rock. And it's a thing where if I ever call The Rock, you know, hopefully he'll pick up and it'll be like, okay, he never reaches out. What's the deal, Michael? You've always treated me well in press. I've treated you well. What project do you have? You know, so that's the kind of situation I want to be in with these celebrities.
Wouldn't it be better though to get buddy with The Rock and just say like, hey, if he's free, hang out, go to the gym.
Not his gym. Have you seen that dude? I mean, I don't really. And here's the thing: it's very interesting. I don't like people. Yeah. Like I mean, I love performing. I love doing my thing, but I'm not a big hanger outer. Mm-hmm. Like I have my close friends, but they're all in Houston. So I mean, I'll do poker night and things like that. But me going out, like I'm married with 2 kids. I don't go out anymore. I got to watch these kids. My wife is so awesome. So that's my life right now. And since I travel so much, when I'm in town, it's kind of just that. Got it. I know it sounds like this boring married guy, but it's crazy. You know, it's a very exciting life because we get to do a lot of stuff, but it's also, you know, it's like once you're at home with kids, that's your focus, you know?
I figure we should mention, because I don't think we mentioned this before, but you guys are neighbors.
Yes,
exactly.
And that's how this whole thing like occurred and how you met each other and whatnot.
Yeah, how was it? I was walking to the gym and I think I saw you unpacking some stuff and I wanted to be neighborly and go say hi.
Were.
Yeah.
You came up, he introduced himself to me and I was like, oh, that's awesome. So a couple days later, you know, I knocked on your door and just said hi and had some questions about, because I knew you were in the podcast world, and just had some questions, and then it kind of just went for you. And automatically invited me to poker night, which was awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
I couldn't make it because I was performing, but it's awesome. The more you learn about where we just moved, how it's just phenomenal. First of all, I when I look back on LA, anytime I land in LA or go back, I want to get out because I love the space here. I just love the lifestyle. I love performing here. I love flying out of here. For my job, it's the best.
Yeah. Now, I got to ask, why did you leave California? Got to get that little audio clip in there.
Oh, yeah. So I left California because we lived in Studio City. And after COVID, after I beat it, I was walking my son in our neighborhood, and a homeless person Like, we lived in a really nice neighborhood, threw something at my son, and he was 3. So that's when I told my wife, and she said, let's go visit my parents in Vegas. And we fell in love with it, rented something for 2 years till they built our house here, and then just moved in like 2 months ago or 3 months ago. And man, talk about a difference.
Yeah.
Everything's easier out here. Everything's cheaper out here. People don't care what you do. You know, the hard thing to me personally about LA is I tell people is if everybody does the same thing. If you're in my industry and you live around and you talk to those people all the time, it's almost like if everybody worked in the same restaurant and everybody wanted to be the general manager of that restaurant. So every conversation is like, oh, who's on fries? Who's on the cashier? Who's on the... So it's like, what audition? What'd you do? What'd you do today? What'd you do? So that's a heaviness that's on you. Mm-hmm. And once I moved here, after I do an audition, I won't get asked by anyone. Nobody cares about my audition. Nobody cares about anything. And that's what I love about Vegas. You know, like people, it's the first time in a long time they talk to you about they ask you about your kids, your family, and it's pretty cool. And like our neighborhood, this neighborhood is like great people. And like my kids have met so many other kids, and the parents are like, there's some amazing people that live in this neighborhood, and I'm meeting all of them. And it's like this is a hot spot. You know, for talent, for connections, for everything.
Who else have you met here? Because I've never introduced myself ever to the neighbors in LA.
Who else? Do you want me to say?
Yeah, sure.
You know, the governor lives like 3 houses away.
Really?
Yes, the governor.
I heard that he lived in this.
No, he lives like right up the street.
Really?
The governor. Yeah, I see him at the gym. He's at the gym.
Wait, which one is he? Because I go to the gym.
Huh?
I go to the gym
What's he
too.
look like?
Well,
Yeah.
he goes at like 5 a.m.
Oh,
Okay, no, I definitely do not. Certainly not.
Yeah, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, Sisolak, he lives here.
I definitely have not seen him.
Yeah, the guy that created the Dune video game lives here, right up the street.
Really?
Oh, dude,
my
he's a
gosh.
massive like.
See the guy with the Corvette I always see?
He lives.
Yeah.
If you were to go straight up from your house,
Yeah.
the set where they built all that stuff in the front of their house.
Yeah.
Yeah. He lives
Wow.
right. So he's created all these electric companies and he sells them. I mean, it's crazy. Like football players, basketball players, for the Raiders, for the hockey team live here.
That's nuts.
Yeah. And because the great thing is I meet them because we all have kids, you know, so I think that's what gets me out more than you is because our kids play with their kids and it's all this. It's organic.
So you're saying kids are good for networking.
Great
That's
for
it.
networking.
First thing
And
you
I
think
think,
about, Graham?
Jack,
and I think,
Jack, you should have a kid so you
I
can
should
get
have
more
a kid,
people on the
yeah.
podcast.
and I think that's the most important thing you're going to learn on this podcast for this neighborhood.
can network.
Kids in
Wow.
Vegas are great for networking.
Before the podcast, we were talking about like how people put certain like societal or like restrictions on what comedians can or can't say. And you being a comedian, I know
Yes.
this is a kind of like a controversial and debatable topic. What do you think about comedians making jokes that maybe could be seen as like too far or feeling like they can't be too edgy or anything? And are we moving in that direction?
No, I don't think we are. I think certain people are. Here's the problem today is a very small group can make a lot of noise and get people canceled. You know, because most people don't care what other people say. They live their lives. You know, and that's one thing when I lived in LA, it's very left. So all you hear is that, you get really like used to hearing one side. And then when you move here where it's 50-50, you're like, oh, people don't really care. You know, people are like, oh, when you move to Vegas, oh my God, people are going to go nuts. They're going to be waving Trump flags in front of your house. No, it's not like that. So you learn that it's just a very small group of people that do that. Now, there are certain comedians that will push the envelope. You got Dave Chappelle talking about transgender, and he gets in a lot of trouble for that. And I feel that it's interesting. Bigger comedians will always say, nothing should ever stop you from saying what you want to say. The comedians that are saying that are loaded, making $20, $25 million a special, right? People like me coming up, I watch what I say. I always say what I want to say, but I'll try to find a less offensive way to say it because I'm still trying to come out. You know, and so I think that's where we are. The people that have made it, the Bill Burrs, the Dave Chappelles, the Sebastians, Jim Gaffigan doesn't push that line. Jim Jeffries is one of my personal friends. Like he will push it because he doesn't care.
But now, don't you think that these people all made their careers coming up by saying those things? And now that we moved in a direction that's against it, they could get away with it only because they're so big by doing that already?
Is it that we're more sensitive or we're more evolved? See, this is where I go back and forth is if you watch Eddie Murphy's Raw and Delirious, it's so out of tone for what we're like. He drops the F word. He's talking about all kinds of things you could not talk about today, you know? So I think he shouldn't apologize for that back then because it was very acceptable back. You look at it today, you go, oh my God. If you've never seen Raw Delirious, go back and watch that. And it will blow you away.
Was that the one in the 80s?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen clips of it. He's hilarious, though. Yeah.
But if you watch the whole special, you'll be like, whoa. Like, there's no way you could say that today. You talk about canceled, nobody would put you on TV. You would be thrown out of the United States of America, probably, if you said the things he said in that special. And he apologized for it, but to me, you shouldn't apologize for it because you filled up movie theaters with people wanting to see that, you know, and it was acceptable at the time. What people, the cancel culture gets confused with, things were like when people have to go back and apologize for things, a lot of times, whether it was right or wrong, it was acceptable. You know, I'm not saying really getting super racial and just being wrong at all periods of time. What I'm saying is certain words were acceptable at a time. It's not right, but at a time, it was very acceptable. You know, talking about certain genders were okay at a time. Today, it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to say this, but I know I can get backlash. So now it's on the comic. Mm-hmm. Is it right he's going to get backlash? It depends what he says. You know, I believe in freedom of speech. And what people forget is if I say something to you and you don't like it, you have the freedom of speech to go complain. So people always take the other side out of the equation. They go, like when you hear news anchors, they're trying to cancel me. It's like, no, you said what you had to say. Now these other people are saying what they have to say. You know, so if you look at it that way, cancel culture is normal because
because it seems like a new thing. I don't remember this being a thing like 6 years ago. Because
there was no 24-hour news. There was no social media. Somebody, if it took work to cancel somebody, nobody would do it. It's harder for me to cancel my gym membership than to cancel a person. Like literally, you have to write a letter to your gym. You have to bring it. They have to meet with an advisor. Advisor tries to keep you to stay. You say no. And they're like, all right, well, and they try to work out the exit deal. Mm-hmm. This, 10 seconds. If it catches fire, the person gets canceled. If not, no big deal. They move on.
Don't you think that's dangerous, though?
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. But also, as a comedian, you can't stop what other people do because now everybody has an opinion. You know, you remember when you used to have to actually know what you're talking about? You remember those days?
I don't remember.
Yeah. No, but if you specialize in finance, if you specialize in comedy, if you like these people work years for people to trust them to even get on TV. Now you hold up your phone, you're an expert. Like when people go, I do my own research, that's very dangerous, especially about medical stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, no, talk to a doctor that actually does it as a profession, that actually went to school for it. But you have people just Googling whatever, coronavirus, reading what they want to read, and then that's what they go with, and then they get mad if you don't agree with it.
Right.
So I recently went to a Bruno Mars concert, and they took away all our phones. And I heard some comedians are doing this too. And
you have to.
So yeah, I was going to ask you. So you agree with this, and if so, why?
100% you agree. Seller, not here, but in New York, they take away everybody's phones. They put them in a green bag, and you got to tap it to leave. Because this is what frustrates me. When you're on stage as a comedian, when I'm at the Comedy Cellar tonight, what I'm saying on stage is not the final product, but you're judging what I say like it's the final product. Like my special that's out right now, that's the final product, you know? So it's kind of like me going to a writer that writes all these negative stories about comedians, turning in their first draft and going, this is your first, well, no, I got to correct all the mistakes. And then an editor has to read it, and then he sends it back to me, and then I got to do it again. I got to rewrite some of the stuff. But comics don't get that leniency. It's kind of whatever you say, it's done. This is what you think. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, that's why we go up in practice. Because you could say anything and now you can say anything and people take it wrong. You know, I have a joke about my son and my daughter. And I go, my son bumped my daughter once, right? You know, and she was playing with a toy, and I got really angry. And then I make a quick joke. I go, but my daughter could hit my son in the face with a brick, and I'll be like, oh, good job, you know, because it just shows the father thing versus the mother and son. People are like, this was right after Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Like, this is the nicest joke. I'm the nicest human, and they're like, you're teaching sexism. Your son's gonna beat women. Your girl's gonna beat up men. Like, they're going bonkers about it. Like this.
Why do they even show up to the comedy thing?
No, it's on YouTube.
It's just reposted and whatnot.
It's the YouTube comments.
It's the YouTube comments.
Oh man, the comments.
Like people go, and I'm never like. To be honest with you, my YouTube my special came out 3 months ago. I had 3,000 people on YouTube. Like it was a dumping ground. I never looked at it. And then they go, you should really put together your YouTube if you're going to put out a special. So for me, I put out the special, and then 3 months later, you know, I've gone from 30,000 views for a channel, like for the 8 years, to now in just 3 months, I got 120,000 people and over 37 million views. So for me, that's great because I never had anything before. But I got to get used to just random people getting really pissed off.
Yeah.
I'm not used to that. You know, it's just they really get upset. And I'm not even a canceled type of comic. But to see people overreact about a joke about my son and daughter, it's a joke, but they take it as real.
But you could use that as content.
100%. And I am for my next special.
That's
I'm going to
good.
read some of the comments and let them know how freaking ridiculous they are and how dumb they are.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. And I'm getting so much material from that. I mean, these people, you know what's amazing to me? That people have time to write paragraphs and paragraphs to you on a comment. Who does that? Do you have no life?
I mean, I've done that before.
Have
it's,
you?
Yeah,
Oh
not
my
negative.
God.
Not
God,
negative.
you're
It's all never negative stuff, but like sometimes I'm really deep involved in the video and I just want to like
I've written
write out-
long things too,
Have
but it's
you?
usually
Yeah.
it's in response to someone saying like some sort of critique to me, and I try to like understand what they're saying, and then I give them a nice, you know, a well thought out message back.
But why? You don't even know these people.
Because I don't know, I'm sensitive maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, but the thing is,
but that's my thing.
your
You don't-
response is public. So even if you don't know them, other people who see that comment will see your response.
Yeah,
So
because
it's like
also-
you're talking to hundreds or thousands of
If
people.
Yeah.
one person has like they have a misread on what you said or whatever, and then they comment about it, other people can see that and just latch onto that. But if
Yeah.
you don't respond and defend yourself, then that will happen, and it will be like an echo chamber. But if you do respond, people will see your response, be like, you know, that's reasonable, and then not like get that thought
I
themselves.
responded. I go, this is a joke. And I said, first of all, my daughter is 1. She
It'd
can't
be
even
funny.
pick up a
It'd
brick.
be funny if you commented back, my daughter will beat up your daughter.
But yeah. So that's
Yeah.
the thing is like I found humor. Like when people say I don't like that, I'll just you know, me neither. You know, you write cute stuff like that, but it's just amazing. Like when people just sit down and just write and write and write. But it's a new thing for me on
Yeah.
YouTube. You know.
Yeah, what was it? I was listening to a podcast, and they mentioned something about how the news cycle changes completely every 36 hours.
Yes.
And so 36 hours from now, unless there's an update, like no one's going to care anymore, and people stop running the story.
And that is true because 24-hour news changed the whole game. I'm older than y'all, but I was in the day when you waited till 7 o'clock to hear your news, and whatever they said that night, that was it. That was the news. And they would run one story for a month if it was a big story. Now, news outlets hype up stories so much and put all these experts on that will disagree with what they say and fight with other people. And that's what it's become, just opinions, you know, and they got to do that to keep people interested. Because if a news anchor just comes up and tells you the facts, you're like, okay, so what am I going to do with that? I want to hear people argue about that, you know, and that's where we are. So, and what proves what you just said, there's presidents that'll do stupid things and say crazy things. And 36 hours later, they could say something else and you totally would forget about the thing they said before. You know, so there's ways to take advantage of it too. If you are that character, you know, where you don't care and you're going to say whatever you want to say, they'll forget about you. You know, you're one natural disaster or one hurricane or anything away, something bad happening from people totally forgetting about the dumb thing you did.
Do you have a review process for your jokes? Like, do you have a person who maybe says, "Hey, Michael, not a good idea. Soften this up a little bit." Do you have like someone?
My wife,
Yeah.
kinda, You know, and I have a couple comics that travel with me, and we always throw stuff off of each other. Like my wife is very sensitive to topic matters. So my last special, I didn't let her see it till I shot it. And then my family, my mom, dad, they tried to cancel me. So I'm not worried about outside. Oh yeah, because
what happened? Now we got to hear it. Tell
you know
us
what? I had a joke where it's not me saying it, but I call my wife a bee in it. But I don't mean it wasn't me. I said the joke is, I survived COVID. I'm going through that. And I go, my wife is taking care of my kids. I'm hearing my son ask where daddy is. And I'm getting breakfast, lunch, and dinner delivered to my room. And then the crowd starts laughing. I go, man, COVID ain't that bad. I feel like a husband in the 50s. Now, I said, I feel like I'm like, get those kids away from me. Bitch, where's my dinner? You know?
No, you're not calling her.
I'm not
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
But
I get what you say.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not, if I was 50, like if I was in the 50s.
You're making fun of
I'm making fun of what they called women. But my wife didn't hear it like that. She was like, oh, you call me a bitch. And then my mom watched my first special 4 years ago, and she was there, and we watched it together. Now that all these reels are coming out, people are making reels, and in one of those, I called her a bitch. But it wasn't me again.
Similar
situation, you know.
Cool.
And then and then the biggest mistake I made in this comedy special, and my wife told me not to do it, and I did it. I called my kid a motherfucker.
What's the
no, but I should.
That alone's enough for Alex. Just to
Why? Alex is laughing. Alex is laughing. Alex finds it funny.
It's funny in the bit. But I had a clean version where I don't say that. And I was like, man, motherfucker is so funny, dude. But I was like, now that I watch it, I go, what if my son gets older? He says, my dad called me a motherfucker.
I think he'd find
don't think he's gonna care.
No.
Hopefully he does it. But I didn't. But I guess my thing is I didn't have to say it. Because I could have said this little, like it goes, it was when after he touches the window. And then I go, this little motherfucker making fun of me, man. Fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
And then I go, but the comedian says his time is incredible. I could have said, I had a version that worked just as the last word of saying. I go, this little dude's making fun of me. Because the joke is the thing. And then I go, this little dude's making fun of me. Screw you, dude. But so I had the clean version of it.
But that's not as, it doesn't have the same punch.
It's showing that he's not your kid.
it.
It's like disassociating that.
Yeah.
He's not, because I'm not making fun of him. Will you go talk to my wife and let her know? Right? 2 houses, just go talk. And that's the thing. And then you worry about, if my wife is like that, she must have heard outside noise from other people that's saying, he called you a bitch in this special.
Did she?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I
feel
hope
like
not. I would never want to offend her family. But I didn't call her that. I was like, if this person in the 50s.
No, I get it. I get it. But
you get it, right?
Yeah. Like if you say this little kid is making fun of me, I feel like that comes off as even more genuine, as though like there's tension between you and your son. But if you disassociate your relationship from this, the silliness of the situation by calling him an MFer, you know what I mean? Then it's like, it's completely detaching. You're just talking about the situation.
I find the extreme so much funnier. You have to take it to that where it's like obvious. It's so obvious, but it's so extreme. So that to me is where the humor lies.
So that's the thing. I was watching my special back. I had both versions. I go, man, motherfucker just hits.
It does.
It just
hits,
mean, man.
You could have done it the other way and got 90%, but
no, it was like more 70, 60. But when you say the MFer, man, they're like, ah! When you say this little guy, they're like,
I agree with you on that.
You know, so it's I'm not even worried about getting canceled from the outside. I'm worried about now I have this new joke I'm working on for my next special where it talks about how women can't make men great. I mean, how men can't make women great. But then I get to the point where I talk about women, how you make us great, but you drive us fucking crazy, right? So now I'm kind of like, okay, what can I talk about? How can I dance this line where my wife's not going to get offended? Because now, obviously, I'm talking about that side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm talking in real time now. So that's where I'm like, for my wife, I'm like, okay. My wife, the thing I'm talking about now is my wife loves to set traps for me. And every woman does in a relationship. They will ask you questions where both answers are wrong. No matter what you answer, it's wrong. Yeah. My wife was like, Miss Wyoming, blah, blah, blah. So all her friends are like beauty, Miss USA's, Miss Universes. That's all her friends, right? Yeah. And when we lived in LA, they would come to the house and they would look at the screen and go, oh my God, she's beautiful. Any answer I say is wrong. If I say she's beautiful, you're like, oh, you think another woman's beautiful? If I go, she's ugly, you're like, oh, he's lying. He's lying to you. So like those are the elements I'm trying to beat out now. Like what, or people I've dated in the past, but I don't like to talk about people I've dated. So it's basically my wife, what she does to drive me crazy. You know, like when you first start dating, when they say your name is sexy, then when you get married, about after 7 years, when they say your name, you know you're about to do something. You know, like take out the trash. You know, like at the beginning, it's like Michael. You're like, ooh, we're about to get it out. And later, when they say it, like after years go by, they go, Michael. I was like, oh, what I got to do?
What
now?
is it now? It's funny.
Yeah,
that's funny.
That's funny, right? But you got to remember, there's a real woman attached to that in real time. You know, so it's
now
like,
here's the thing: can you make up stories so that she doesn't feel like you're talking about your own relationship?
No, I'd never make up stories. What I will do is put it in other people's words. Like I will do that. I don't want to say. I almost got in trouble right now.
I'm setting you as trap here. I'm setting a
frame
trap.
it as other people, but if you guys are watching, everything
based
is
on
personal.
a true story.
Yeah.
No, it's true, because I was about to say, my wife would have watched it and go, really? Oh, okay.
Guys,
no, but
it's 5:30.
Got it. Okay.
So that's Michael's hard.
You have a heart out right now?
I have a heart out because I got booked on a TV show.
Okay.
So, and they're going over the final, and I'm very happy about it. So they said they're going to call like any second. So that's why I got to bounce. But it's, this has been awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so
you.
much.
No, but
we could keep this going longer,
Yeah.
but you know what?
Another time.
Let's do it again. And then next time we won't get into the house thing. We can keep it.
I want to hear more about your wife.
Oh my gosh. She's
That's the
amazing.
last thing he wants to talk about.
Oh, wait, you just got engaged though.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I could start making jokes too.
No,
no jokes.
No,
I'm kidding. That was a joke.
Just wait.
Yeah, no.
Oh my goodness. We'll talk off. But it's awesome.
Yeah.
Just let her do everything. If she's into weddings or whatever, if she's into that, like my wife was really big into wedding. No matter, they'll ask you for your opinion. They don't want it. Just be supportive. Like they'll be like, do you like this color or this color? And you'll pick a color and they'll be like, oh, I don't like that. I like this one. You're like, okay.
That's what I told him.
Yeah.
And he said he will stand his ground.
Wait,
and
you
die on
know, for the
certain hills.
wedding. Now, I got to defend myself
All
on this.
right,
There are
let's hear it,
certain things that I feel like I would be inauthentic to myself if I back down. There are other things that, I'm totally fine with whatever Macy wants. I'm good with that. Like for a wedding.
For example, if you don't care about it.
Or if I'm indifferent, there are certain things that I'm really passionate about, and I feel like I will stand up for those things, and other things that I care more about, Macy being happy. For a wedding, I think this is about her and, creating that day that she's always wanted. For me, it's, I care more about her being happy in that moment. So if she's like between
I'm not talking about the wedding.
No. What are you talking about?
I was just talking in general.
Just in general?
Yeah, when we were at the gym, it was funny. I asked Graham the question, like, are there certain things that you stand for where if Macy did something that you necessarily didn't agree with, but it wasn't the most important thing, do you stand your ground or do you ever give it to Macy and just say, you know what, I'll let you have this one? And then you said, no, I will not be myself.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the truth.
Which,
It's
I mean,
the
I don't
truth.
even know if
Yeah.
there's necessarily a right and wrong for this, but sometimes for me personally in my relationships, I like to maybe take some things to the chin and maybe step outside of, go outside of like what I truly believe, and just in order to avoid an argument, which I know sounds
you're
extremely,
avoiding conflict,
which I know sounds
Jack, yeah.
extremely unhealthy.
Yeah.
To like bottle that stuff in, but in my opinion, certain times you could do like a cost benefit analysis and say bottling in causes this much damage, but also the potential argument causes this.
You know
much
what's something
damage, and it's a
interesting,
one-off.
Jack,
It's not gonna be
that I've
repeated.
worked on? I'll be personal here.
Let's hear about
That's something I really worked on. In the very beginning, I took that approach. And I bottled things up and it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I did the same sort of risk versus reward. Within a few months, it got to a point where things were just bottling up and I just wasn't happy. And I got really good at being honest and open and sharing my thoughts. And if Macy will ask me a question, instead of either skirting the issue or just, not bothered. I'll be completely honest. So if she ever asks me something like, Graham, are you upset right now? I'll just flat out say yes, and why. And I feel so much better about it, and I think our communication is so much better. That does mean, of course, that there is some conflict, if there is something that, you know, either we disagree with or,
It's not
you know,
worth it.
there's very little
I
that
do the same
that-
thing, Graham. Yeah.
Yeah, there's very little that is not worth it. It's just, you know, on a magnitude of 1 to 10, usually it's minor stuff. It's stupid stuff too. I mean, really stupid. But I just feel better about sharing my true thoughts. And if we disagree, we'll talk about it. But
That sounds healthy, and I'm sure that there's a healthy balance on both sides of like, you know, maybe I'll just avoid this one because you got to pick your battles, and then other things maybe where it matters a lot more to you, then you know you could choose to engage in.
yeah,
those.
so sure, there are some things for me where it's, you know, let's just say I'm frustrated or something like that. There's certain things for me where I know internally not even worth bringing up. Like I'll be totally fine. It's not worth discussing, but anything that it is of any significance for me, I'll always be honest.
I think you got to rephrase it, Jack. I don't think you can, you know, be like, yeah, you know, not worth it. You got to be, you know, I think the way to phrase it is like, you got to really look at the difference that you're having and really think like, is this really important in life? And like completely let it go versus like bottling it up, as like Graham was saying in the beginning. Because sometimes when I think about those little things, it's like, yeah, really doesn't matter. Let's get over it. And then that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mean
yeah.
bottling it up. I just mean just like, you know what, letting it slide.
No.
And because for me, I've done that.
No, not
For
letting it slide, Jack. That's worse.
No,
Yeah.
for sure. Like
Because
in the
you're
past,
saying that that's
like,
bad.
No, but I personally, if I accept that I am letting something go, it doesn't bottle up for me, nor does it build resentment. And I'm able to determine when, if I do bottle something up, it will build resentment versus when it won't. You know what I mean? And obviously, it's a net negative if I do end up choosing the building resentment side.
I don't know. I think our communication's gotten a lot better
That's good.
for both sides. You know, and me being more open is something I've really worked on, and like trying to hear another person's side in general.
I do remember that actually in
yeah.
the beginning of the relationship, how you kept on like I could see it on a personal side where like, you know, like obviously there's something that bugged you or whatever. And you're just like, yeah, you know, don't worry about it because you like avoiding the arguments. So, and it does seem a lot, you know, healthier and whatever now.
Yeah, or whatever.
I don't,
All right. Well, anyway, where'd Michael go?
So, guys, Michael had a call because he's going on a show. So he had to leave, and we are extremely grateful that he came on the Iced Coffee Hour. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We have a
Yeah.
Patreon link down below.
Oh,
Michael,
we do. Jack, tell us about the Patreon. What
right, guys.
what happened? You just completely redid it.
So yeah, we restructured the entire Patreon, and we changed the perks around, and I think it's really cool. Let us know what you guys think down below. We got some really, really cool and interesting ideas that I think you guys will really like.
Yeah, so check it out to see what those are. And I also told Jack, I said, Jack, too expensive, and he lowered the price.
That is the exact opposite of what the truth is. That is the exact opposite
What's the
of
truth,
what
Jack?
the truth
Tell
is.
us.
So
Let's not, no. Okay, with that said,
know
guys,
what?
thank
We'll
you
bring
so
it
much
up
for
next
watching.
time.
Yeah, just make sure to get your free stock down below in the description. When you sign up for Public, use the code Graham.
check out Michael. Check out my Instagram at
yeah.
JLSSELBY. Also, big thank you to our sponsors of this episode. And with that said, you guys,
Till next time.
till next time.
Cool.